My brother-in-law crashed his car drunk. I let him stay in our guest room. 3 weeks later, he'd taken over our living room, stolen from my purse, and told my kids, "Your mom's just a babysitter with no power." When I told my husband, he shrugged. "He's family. You're temporary." That night I caught them all laughing over my diary. What I did the next day left the whole family silent. I'm 38 female. I've been married to Dean 42 male for 10 years. We have 2 kids, Ellie 8 and Jason 10. We live in a quiet suburb outside Madison, Wisconsin. It used to feel like a decent life. Nothing fancy, but it worked. I took care of the house, the kids, handled the bills, ran errands. Dean worked full-time at a mid-sized construction firm. He was always tired when he came home. I figured that was normal. I didn't complain. I didn't see the cracks until Kyle showed up. Kyle is Dean's younger brother. He's 33 and a walking mess. I've known him as long as I've known Dean, and in all that time I've never seen him hold a steady job or relationship. He drinks too much, parties too hard, and somehow always lands on his feet. Dean always defended him. "He's going through stuff. That's just Kyle. He means well." 2 months ago, Kyle got drunk and totaled his car on the interstate. Hit a divider. He was lucky to walk away. No one else got hurt, but he was arrested on the spot. DUI. No car. No apartment. He called Dean from jail. Dean bailed him out and offered our guest room without asking me. He told me when Kyle was already on his way over. I wasn't thrilled, but I didn't want to start a fight. I thought it'd be for a week. 2 at most. I didn't realize that was the start of everything falling apart. Kyle showed up with a duffel bag and a box of old DVDs. No job, no money, no plans. He slept most of the time. Stayed in the guest room with the blinds down. Said he had a concussion and sore ribs. Fine. I tried to be kind. I cooked extra. Made sure he had what he needed. I asked him not to smoke inside. He laughed and said, "Chill. I'm not an animal." He still smoked in the garage. Dean kept saying Kyle just needed time. That I should stop hovering. So I backed off. Kyle stopped staying in the guest room. He was on the living room couch almost all day. Shirtless. Eating chips. Leaving crumbs. The place started to smell like old beer and BO. He watched the same 3 shows on repeat. When I asked if he was looking for work, he said he couldn't do anything until his ribs healed and his license was restored. Then he asked me to drive him to the liquor store. I told Dean I was uncomfortable. That I didn't feel safe with Kyle drinking around the kids after a DUI. Dean rolled his eyes and said I was being too uptight. "He's not drinking that much. Relax." I didn't relax. I started locking my bedroom door when I wasn't home. Things got worse. I came home one afternoon and found Kyle in my usual spot on the couch, feet up, shirt off, a beer in one hand and the TV remote in the other. My purse was moved. I didn't think much of it at first. But later I noticed $40 missing. Not the first time I'd felt something was off, just the first time I was 100% sure. I confronted Kyle. He smirked and said, "I don't need your money, lady. Maybe you just forgot how to count." Dean took his side. Said maybe I did misplace it. That night my daughter asked me, "Mommy, is Kyle in charge now?" I said no. She looked confused. Then she told me something that made my blood run cold. She said, "Uncle Kyle said you're just a babysitter. That you don't really make the rules." I asked Jason if he heard the same thing. He nodded, but wouldn't say anything more. That night I told Dean we needed to set hard boundaries. That Kyle was out of control and undermining me as a parent. Dean shrugged. Then he said something I'll never forget. "He's family. You're temporary." I stared at him, thinking maybe I heard wrong. But he said it again. "You're not my blood. Kyle is. You need to remember your place." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I woke up early and started cleaning the kitchen. I heard laughter coming from the living room. Kyle, Dean, Jason. They were reading something out loud. It was my handwriting. My stomach dropped. I walked around the corner and saw Kyle holding my notebook. My diary. The one I kept in my nightstand drawer. They were reading it out loud. Laughing. I heard Dean say, "This part's gold." Jason looked uncomfortable. But he laughed anyway. Probably felt like he had to. When Kyle saw me, he said, "Didn't know you were writing a comedy." Dean added, "You shouldn't leave stuff like that laying around if it's so private." I didn't say a word. I took the diary, went upstairs, and locked the door. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. I felt like something inside me cracked open. Not sadness. Not fear. Just clarity. They didn't respect me. Not even a little. Not as a mother. Not as a wife. Not as a human being. So I made a plan. First, I copied everything. Passwords. Bank statements. Credit card records. Dean never paid attention to the finances. I handled everything. I knew where every penny went. Turns out there were more surprises. Late-night hotel charges. Bars and entertainment venues nowhere near any of his job sites. One Venmo transfer to a woman I'd never heard of with the caption, "Thanks for last night." I printed everything. Emailed it to myself and to a lawyer. Then I started recording. Every time Kyle spoke around the kids, I had my phone nearby. I got him on camera calling me a B*TCH. Telling Jason, "Your mom's too weak to make real decisions." Telling Ellie, "Your dad's the boss. Your mom's just a live-in maid." Then I made 2 calls. One to CPS. The other to a lawyer. I waited until the right moment. The day Dean and Kyle left to run errands. They were actually just going to the bar. I had a locksmith come and change every single lock on the doors. I moved important documents, birth certificates, the kids' health records, tax files, to a safe storage place. Then I packed 2 bags. One for me. One for the kids. That night, when Dean called to ask why his key didn't work, I told him, "You have 24 hours to get your things out of the garage. You're not welcome here anymore." I filed for a protective order. Kyle's name is on it too. He didn't believe me. Until the police showed up to explain it to him. When Dean realized I wasn't bluffing, he lost it. He stood outside the house for nearly half an hour that night, pounding on the front door, shouting through the windows. The neighbors came out to watch. I didn't open the door. I didn't say a word. I stood upstairs in my bedroom with the lights off and my phone in my hand, recording everything. He finally drove off. I heard tires screeching. Then silence. The next morning, a welfare officer from CPS showed up at the house. I'd expected it. I had everything ready: videos, audio, written records, screenshots of text messages Kyle had sent me late at night that crossed every line. I handed it over in a folder. I let them speak to the kids. I answered every question. Jason asked me later, "Are we in trouble?" I told him, "No. We're safe now. That's what matters." That night, Dean tried to call again. 12 missed calls. Then a text. "You'll regret this. I promise." I didn't respond. But the next day, I got an email from the school. Apparently, Dean had shown up during lunch hour. Told the front office he was picking the kids up early. Said there was a family emergency. Only reason it didn't work was because I'd already told the school in writing. Dean wasn't allowed to take them anymore. They asked him to leave. He made a scene. The principal called the police. Nothing came of it, but the kids were shaken. Jason started having nightmares again. Ellie kept asking, "Why does Daddy hate you now?" I didn't know how to explain it to her. How do you explain betrayal by someone who used to hold your hand at night and call you his whole world? I thought Kyle would disappear. That he'd find some couch to crash on and vanish like always. But he didn't. 3 days later, he posted a video online. A rant. Filmed from the driver's seat of someone else's car. He was clearly drunk. Slurring his words. Rambling about how I was a bitter, evil woman tearing a good family apart. He called me names. Said I was trying to turn Dean's kids against him. I reported the video. So did several others. It was taken down within hours. But not before it got shared by some of his buddies. One of them posted it to a private Facebook group for local guys who support real men. My face was plastered all over it. They found my Instagram. My workplace's website. People started commenting nasty things under old photos of me with the kids. The preschool director pulled me aside the next day. Told me she was sorry, but with all the online attention, they had to pause my position until things settled down. Not fire me. Just pause. Just like that, I lost my job. I sat in the car after that meeting and stared at the steering wheel for 20 minutes. Everything was spinning. Cal was out there talking about me. Dean was helping him. My own husband. And I was being punished for protecting my kids. That night, I met with the lawyer I'd hired. Her name was Rachel, and she was the first person in weeks who made me feel like I wasn't crazy. She laid it all out. We had everything we needed, financial records showing Dean had lied about expenses. Screenshots of possible infidelity. Video evidence of emotional harm toward the kids. Proof that Kyle had been living in our home illegally after the DUI, and that Dean enabled it. Rachel said, "If we play this right, you'll get the house. Full custody. And he'll be lucky to get supervised visits. But it would take time. So while we waited for court dates, she made a different suggestion. Hit him where it hurts, his reputation. I didn't want to go public. But I was already being talked about. Judged. Attacked by strangers. So I posted. I didn't name names. I didn't share anything confidential. But I told the truth. I wrote out a long post on a local women's support group page. I told them what happened. About Kyle. About Dean. About the stolen money. The diary. The way I'd been treated inside my own home. The post went viral. Over 2,000 likes. Hundreds of comments. Women wrote things like, "This happened to me. You're brave. Don't stop." Someone messaged me privately. Said she worked in HR at Dean's company. That she was going to take a closer look. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Let them talk now. Let everyone talk. 2 days after I posted my story online, Dean's mom showed up at my door. I didn't expect that. She stood there holding a grocery bag full of food, like we were still on speaking terms. Like her son and her precious Kyle hadn't turned my life upside down. She looked at me and said, "I know you're going through a rough time, and I just wanted to check on the kids." I stared at her, unsure if she was clueless or pretending. "I'm not letting you in," I said flatly. "You can leave the bag, if that's all you came for." She didn't leave it. She held onto it and frowned like I'd hurt her feelings. Then she said, "You didn't have to go nuclear. You embarrassed the whole family. That post? That was cruel." I almost laughed. "Cruel? You want to talk about cruel?" I stepped out on the porch, lowered my voice so the kids wouldn't hear. "Your son watched his brother steal from me, lie to my children, and read my diary out loud. He laughed while doing it. That's what you raised. That's your legacy." She didn't say anything. Just sniffed and said, "Maybe if you'd been more supportive, none of this would have happened." Then she walked away like she was the victim. The company fallout later that week, I got a message from someone anonymous. It was a photo. Dean. At his office. In the conference room. Getting screamed at by his boss. The message just said, "Looks like your post hit the right spot." That night, Dean showed up at the school again. He tried to get to Jason after soccer practice. The coach blocked him. The school called me right away. That was the final straw for the court. 2 days later, the emergency custody order came through. Dean was barred from any contact with the kids unless supervised by a court-approved monitor. Kyle was included in the no-contact order too. It should have felt like a win. And in a way, it was. But I was tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with a nap. I was worn down in my bones. I kept going because I had to. But inside, I was furious that I even had to fight this hard just to be safe in my own life. Just when I thought Dean couldn't sink any lower, he did. Rachel, my lawyer, called me one morning with a grim voice. "Your husband just filed a motion with the court claiming you're unstable." "What?" I almost dropped the phone. "He submitted your diary as evidence," she said. "The one they stole. He's trying to say you're mentally unfit to parent." I went cold. The very thing they laughed at, mocked, used to humiliate me, he was now using it in court. My private thoughts. My fears about feeling alone. My confessions about being overwhelmed sometimes. About wanting space. About not recognizing my marriage anymore. He had taken all of it and twisted it. Rachel told me not to panic. That family court judges see this tactic all the time. But it still hit me like a punch in the gut. They didn't just want to punish me now. They wanted to erase me. That weekend, I got a call from a woman I didn't know. Her name was Brittany. She was 29, worked at a bar near where Dean used to have his client dinners. She said, "I saw your post online. I think I know your husband." My stomach dropped. She told me Dean used to come in every Thursday night. Said he had a wife who was cold and distant. Said he was basically raising the kids alone. Sometimes Kyle was with him. They'd flirt with the servers. Leave big tips. Try to get girls to go home with them. She never went, but she said she saw at least 2 girls leave with Dean. I never knew he was lying about the wife until someone shared your post. She offered to write a statement. Said she was willing to testify in court. I cried after I hung up. Not because I was surprised. But because I finally had someone else who saw what I saw. A few nights later, while tucking Jason in, he pulled out a little notebook from under his pillow. He said, "I made this. It's like your diary." I opened it. Inside were short sentences. Kid handwriting. But they hit hard. "Uncle Kyle called me a loser. Daddy said Mommy is annoying. Mommy cried in the kitchen. I pretended I didn't see. I wish we could go back to before Kyle came. That notebook became another piece of evidence. But to me, it was more than that. It was proof that my kids saw everything. They understood more than I ever thought. They felt the cracks. They just didn't have the words until now. The custody hearing was set for a Friday in late March. It was cold, snow still on the ground. I remember wearing a plain gray coat and no makeup because I wanted the judge to see me exactly as I was. Tired, raw, but steady. Dean showed up in a suit, trying to look clean-cut. Kyle wasn't allowed in the courtroom due to the protective order, but he waited outside like a bodyguard. Rachel caught him sneaking photos of me through the glass and reported it to security. He was told to leave or be arrested. He left, but not before flicking me off through the glass door like a teenager. Inside the courtroom, it all came out. Rachel presented everything. The videos. The texts. The financial records. The statement from Brittany. The screenshots from Kyle's drunken live stream. The audio of Dean laughing as Kyle read my diary. Jason's little journal. Even the voicemail from Dean's mother telling me I needed to fix the family. When Dean's lawyer tried to say I was unstable, Rachel held up the diary. She looked right at the judge and said, "This was stolen." Read aloud to her children as a joke. And now it's being used as a weapon. The judge didn't smile once. When Dean tried to speak, the judge stopped him and said, "You're lucky she didn't press charges for harassment and emotional abuse. If she had, you'd be the one asking for visitation rights, not custody." Then the ruling came. I got full custody. Dean was granted supervised visitation only, at a neutral facility twice a month. I got the house. Dean was ordered to pay child support and spousal maintenance for 2 years. But that wasn't the end. Turns out, someone at Dean's job had been watching the case closely. The HR woman who messaged me? She wasn't just someone in the department. She was the company's director of people. Dean was fired the following week. The email cited unprofessional conduct, harassment allegations, and breach of company reputation standards. He tried to claim I got him fired on purpose. I didn't. He did that all by himself. Without a job, Dean couldn't pay the child support. He fell behind immediately. Rachel filed a lien on what little savings he had left, and froze his account until he paid at least a portion. He tried to dodge it by claiming he had no income. But Brittany, bless her, tipped us off that he had started doing under-the-table contractor work. She sent photos of him in uniform with a different company logo. Rachel brought that to court too. He was fined for lying under oath. As for Kyle? About 3 weeks after the court date, he was arrested again. He was found passed out in the driver's seat of a borrowed pickup truck outside a strip mall. This time, it wasn't alcohol. It was pills. He had a suspended license, unpaid fines, and was on probation from his last DUI. The officer who arrested him recognized his name from the CPS report and flagged it to the DA. He ended up sentenced to 10 months in county jail. No more couches to crash on. No more laughing at my expense. I didn't gloat. But when I heard the news, I slept through the night for the first time in months. Here's something I didn't expect. About a month after Kyle was arrested, Dean's mother called me again. This time, she didn't sound angry. She sounded embarrassed. She said, "I didn't know it was this bad." Apparently, she tried to take Kyle in again. But when he got arrested, police found stolen items from her house in his truck. Jewelry. Gift cards. Even an old checkbook. He'd robbed his own mother. She told me, "You were right. About all of it." I didn't say, "I told you so." I just said, "I hope you take better care of yourself now." She started crying. Said she was sorry for ever doubting me. I don't know if I forgive her, but I don't hate her anymore. She's broken too. That whole family is. I'd like to tell you I walked away from all of this stronger right away. But that's not how it went. For a while I was angry. Really angry. Not just at them, but at myself. I let them disrespect me for too long. I let myself disappear inside a home I kept clean, for a husband I kept defending, for kids I tried to protect without anyone protecting me. That was my mistake. I started therapy. Real therapy, not just writing in a journal. Though I still do that too. I started rebuilding. Last week, I got a letter. Not a text. Not a call. A real letter. It was from Jason. He wrote it in class for someone I admire assignment. His teacher mailed it to me as a surprise. Here's what he wrote. "My mom is strong. She keeps going even when people are mean. She always protects us. She's not just a babysitter. She's a hero. I want to be like her when I grow up. That letter broke me in the best way. All the pain. The mess. The fighting. It was worth it just to read that one paragraph. I live in the same house, but it feels different. It's quiet. It's calm. It smells like lavender and waffles again, not stale beer and sweat. We laugh more. We sleep better. I went back to the preschool last month. They welcomed me back with hugs. Turns out, people do remember how you treated them when they were hurting. I don't date. Not yet. Maybe someday. Right now I'm dating my peace. As for Dean? I hear he's crashing on a friend's couch. Still unemployed. Still blaming everyone but himself. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about that night they laughed over my diary. If he thinks about how easily he tossed away a family. But I don't really care. He picked his side. And I buried mine.